Outside the Box Reviews, we're taking a look at the NECA Aliens Wave 10 Kenner Tribute Mantis Alien. This is the third and final figure in this first wave of Kenner Tribute Alien figures NECA's done. Though technically there were two previous releases before the actual series happened. And I'm going to be upfront, this is the figure that has given me the most problems from this wave. From what I've heard from other people, I'm not alone. And because I know people love to point out that kind of stuff, you're probably going to see this alien flop around on screen a bit because it is a very top-heavy piece, even more so than the Gorilla. And it is the one that seems to have the most QC issues in this wave of figures. This is actually my second Mantis Alien. My first one I bought off Amazon, and it promptly fell apart right out of the package. Its arm was nearly disconnected. I had a spike on the claw drop off after barely handling it, and eventually the head popped off and proved to be nearly impossible to reattach securely. So this new figure I picked up at a Toys R Us. So far it seems to be considerably better, but the overall design of this figure isn't quite ideal. So we'll get into that as we go. As with our other figures, we do get a little Dark Horse comic book here. A lot of what you'd expect artwork back from the 90s, I guess. So cool little add-in. We also get my favorite of these little tiny creature pack-ins we've gotten in this wave. This is a chest burster done in a green paint job. And instead of making him mirror his larger counterpart, they actually went with a darker scheme. The green here is very similar to the green on the Mantis, but it's not translucent. But then we got this black back to it, going from the head all the way down the spine. And this just looks awesome. I absolutely love the paint job on this thing. I mean, granted, it's like two of my favorite colors, but still, it looks great. It is the chest burster we got with the creature pack. We have the little arms folded up there in the Aliens style, little silver teeth in its mouth. Lots of great detail. It's curved up at the top and then flattens out when we get into the bendable section here for the rest of the tail, with some nice kind of segmented body parts going through. Great little accessory. Perfect little pack-in for this figure. The Mantis Alien is definitely the largest from this wave. The paint job on him is very reminiscent of his Kenner counterpart. We have this nice translucent green throughout most of the body, and then it's highlighted by a very nice bright silver. What NECA's done to update this figure has been to add in kind of a black wash into areas, darkening it up, making it look a little more used and real. I love the head sculpt on this thing. There's kind of some extra frills going on here at the top. It comes out in this weird triangular shape and back. Everything's a little more ornate than we're used to seeing on a standard alien head sculpt. The front here is also kind of reminiscent of the Queen, where it smooths out a bit. Then we have these almost bulging eye looking sections, which very much hint at its insect heritage, or at least the even more insect heritage that this figure has. We have the bright yellow teeth here at the front. We even have the underbite that the original Kenner figure had. But these teeth look much better than the big buck teeth we had on the Kenner version. They look very sinister and cool. And then we could pop the jaw open, and I'm met with the most stubborn inner jaw that I've had on a NECA Alien in a long time. I cannot get this out. I'm not going to force it any further here on camera because I'm afraid I'm going to break it. It appears to be just a standard tongue. There are some yellow teeth there in the front, and I think it's stuck in because that translucent plastic does tend to be a little gummier, so I'm thinking it's probably kind of stuck back in there because of that. We also do get some cords coming down here from the base of the jaw into the back of the head, which are really cool. All the standard biomechanical details throughout the green translucent plastic. Here on the neck, it's really nicely highlighted by the silver dry brushing. The chest here appears to be very standard alien. Once again, the green translucent plastic with silver on the rib cage makes it look very cool. Great exoskeleton look. We have an added on piece coming up here over the shoulders. Bright silver, emulating the way that old toy looked with the bigger shoulder pads. And then there's no hoses or headrest on the back. Instead, we have this extra piece plugged in that has a very insect-like appearance. Really cool. Like maybe some black, almost eye-looking bits back here. I really like the way this is sculpted. I do wish they would have included the tubes similar to what they did with the Gorilla Alien. I liked that that was a tribute to the action feature, but since that action feature on this figure was kind of stupid in the Kenner line, it's maybe not so much missed here that we don't get it. The arms start with this kind of ornate little silver piece around the shoulder, and then looking at the upper arm, we get the standard kind of biomech look. There's these rings around it that actually kind of remind me of them that like Jetsons retro futuristic look. It's kind of weird. That's my first thought looking at it. We do get a little more black here in the arms as well, carrying on the insect look. We have a claw here at the elbow, actually on both pieces of the elbow. Then we have the brown claws coming off the top of the arm here. And we go down into the really cool looking claw at the end. This thing looks very much like a beefed up version of the Kenner figure. I think it's perfect for what it's trying to represent. It's a little duller silver with black underneath it, and it just has spines everywhere. This is one of the places where I did have spines pop off, so I would be careful with it, but overall I think it looks great. On the underside of the arm, we actually have this kind of hollowed out section. I guess maybe if you articulated it right, you could kind of tuck the arm back in and fold it into this section here and have it in a more crouched and ready to pounce position, which would be kind of cool. The lower torso, once again, very similar to the standard rubberized lower torso. The upper legs look pretty standard as well. Then we get this kind of more ornate kneecap with a big spike on it. Also a more ornate lower leg. I'm not sure if this is taken right off the Isolation Alien. It looks like it may be original sculpt, especially with this extra claw here at the back. Then we have these back bent legs that are very much inspired by the Kenner version. More spikes midway down, that kind of weird twisting biology to it, and these big feet. My feet on this version came backwards, and I had a friend, I believe, said he had the same thing going on, but it definitely only really stands when you have these side claws facing forward. And the side claws are a nice brown, similar to that claw we had up top on the arm. And then at the bottom of the feet, we do get peg holes, and even with these, it's a little hard to stand this figure. I would kind of recommend a dynamic stand, and maybe not the NECA one, because that thing kind of sucks. And here at the back, can't forget, we do get a representation of that flat mantis looking tail. Nice silver and black detail on top, translucent green on the bottom with a really cool webbing look, and then a very sinister spine here at the end. Articulation on this figure is a little tricky. We have a ball joint at the neck, so you can look up, down, side to side, pivot, but it has this extra joint in here, and I'm actually going to bring in my broken figure to show that off a little better. Inside the alien head, there's the standard ball joint, but there's also this kind of sliding slot system, and because of that, once my head fell off, I couldn't push it back onto the neck because it would just kind of rock to the side whenever I applied pressure to it. It's kind of disappointing because it makes it very hard to reattach the head if it comes off. Because of that system, we can kind of slide the head forward and back a little bit and also get it into this very extreme up position that's kind of only capable because of the way that joint is designed. So I do like this, but it just adds a level of fragility to it, and it does make it a little floppy, so I'm not entirely sold on that design. We do, of course, get a hinge there at the jaw and the sliding on the tongue, though mine's very stiff right now. On the arms, we have pin socket shoulders. They'll go forward, back, as well as out to the side. Mine are a little stiff, so I would be careful with it. We have a double jointed elbow here where the standard elbow would belong. This is the other area on my previous figure where there was a disconnect in the joint, which is a bit of a problem. Both of these joints will also rotate, which is cool. We have another hinge here, I guess where the hand would usually go. So you can go pretty far up, not quite straight out with it. You could tuck pretty far in. You could also rotate there. Then we have another hinge joint here at the base of the claw, so you can go up and down as well as rotate. And then the claw itself, this lower section here is on a joint as well, so you can close it all the way in, and then you can open it pretty wide. It does kind of show a little bit because it is using the green translucent plastic, so it does show up when you open it too far, and it does feel a little fragile, so I'd definitely be careful. This joint can also rotate. Get a mid-torso ball joint, so you get forward, back, side to side, and rotation. Great range of motion there, very free to move. The legs are in pin socket joints, so go forward, back, as well as out to the side. You can rotate at the upper leg. We have a double joint here at the knee, or the first knee at least. I guess this is technically an ankle down here, but we can go forward and back as well as rotate. And then we have a ball joint there at the foot itself. I honestly can't tell if this tail has articulation. It seems like it moves a little bit, and I can't tell if mine's just stiff or if it's not actually a rotatable joint. It's pretty stiff on both figures I have, so I'm inclined to believe that it is just a fixed glued-on tail. For a size comparison, there's Mantis tipping over. For a size comparison, here's Mantis standing as tall as I can get it next to its original Kenner counterpart, and you can see it absolutely dwarfs the original figure. In this pose, the Kenner figure is only coming up to its crotch. If I could really stand this thing up fully on its legs, it probably wouldn't even make it to the knee. Granted, you really can't pose Mantis like that. It's not really designed for that either. And the real issue is that it's hard to pose the legs in a way that that really supports it, so you do have to do something like this and have it leaning on its claw. But either way, it is just a colossal version of the old Kenner piece, and I think NECA did a great job adapting the source here to make this new figure. And here's the full wave side by side. Gorilla is another one I'm not even going to attempt to stand straight up. But we got two really huge figures out of this. And the facehugger. But a very colorful, interesting looking wave all in all. There's a weird irony to reviewing a figure like this, because I think if I'd gotten this version, this particular instance of figure first, it would have been an easy recommend for me, despite some of the flaws with it. And really the biggest flaw is that it doesn't stand up particularly well, which is definitely a problem if you want to put this up on your shelf without a stand underneath it, but wouldn't be something bad enough to completely damn the figure. But in a situation like this, where the first one I picked up had 3 fairly major issues with it, it does definitely bring into question how solid these things are overall. I don't have many QC issues with my NECA figures, or at least major ones where things actually break. And I don't think that's just pure luck, but the initial opening of this figure gave me severe flashbacks to that first Predator 2 Elder and the QC issues with that. Fortunately, it didn't take me 3 or 4 tries to get a good Mantis, but it does make me worry for people trying to get one. I am going to give this a recommend. There's too much on this figure I like to not recommend it. It's got a really cool paint job. I love how they updated the sculpt of that Kenner figure into something just absolutely sinister and crazy looking, but I would definitely say this is a situation where you need to handle the figure with extreme care. So that wraps up Wave 10 of NECA's Alien line, and as of this recording, Toy Fair is right around the corner, so I'm sure NECA's going to be showing off some cool new Alien stuff here very, very soon, and I'm already excited to speculate on what the next Kenner wave from Aliens is going to be. I'm going to take a guess and say we're going to get one of those Panther or Lion, I forget what they were specifically, aliens, since it is probably going to use mostly the dog alien body mold, but I'm kind of hoping maybe they'll keep to this formula where we have 2 more normal ones and 1 oddball, and we'll get a snake or the crab. But only time will tell, and I think we've got almost a year before we'll see that again. It seems to be about the schedule we get with the Predators, so I'm assuming that's what we're going to be getting with the Aliens too. Make sure you like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Facebook, link below. Also check me out on Instagram, username Outside the Box Reviews. And until next time, this has been another Outside the Box Reviews. Game over, man! Game over!